top of the morning to ya, folks. It is I, your Distractaholics host, Morgan.
And I'm Tyler.
And I should never do an accent again.
I'm so glad I let you do it.
All right, so today on Distractaholics, we are discussing the movie Leprechaun.
Yes.
This is one of Tyler's favorite movies, and I
is.
had not watched it until just recently.
What?
You knew this.
Who deprived you of the gold that is the movie Leprechaun?
Haha, get it, gold.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I see. But yeah, this was, well, I watched it earlier this week, and then I actually just rewatched it again today. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. Would it be classified as horror? Comedy?
It's a horror movie. It's a comedy horror movie.
Yeah. It's not scary. It's funny. It's very quotable, which
It is. It's so good.
you will find I will probably be quoting shit randomly throughout this entire podcast.
Oh, good. I forgot to write them all down.
I just wrote down some of them, but hit us with a plot summary, Tyler.
Okay. When Dan O'Grady returns to the U.S. after stealing some Irish leprechaun's pot of gold, he thinks he can settle down and enjoy his newfound wealth. Well, he thought wrong. The leprechaun followed him, and O'Grady barely gets away with his life, having locked the little monster in his basement. 10 years later, JD and his spoiled daughter Tori move into the home. By accident, the leprechaun is released, and immediately the malevolent creature starts looking to retrieve his gold, and he will do so by any means necessary. And that came from IMDb, but then I rewrote part of it, so.
I was say that was a very in-depth plot summary, damn.
Okay, Morgan, you've seen this movie twice.
Twice.
I think I have seen this movie minimum 30 times.
Nuh-uh.
Oh yeah. I watch all of them at least once yearly, sometimes twice yearly.
That's awesome. I don't know if it would be something that like I would continuously watch over and over, but it's funny.
It is one of my comfort horror movies because there are such a thing.
There are such a thing. I agree. I was actually thinking about what my comfort horror movies were yesterday.
Can I? Okay. This is going to be one of the movies, Morgan, that you're going to call me on my rating. Finally, you'll be able to say.
Are you serious?
Yes. I would, just a Tyler rating. I know we're going to run it through the Distractaholics rating system later. I would give this an 8.5.
Oh, that's not as high as I thought it was going to be.
It's so good. It's so original, and I really enjoy the acting in this movie.
It was really original. Like, do you think was the acting bad?
No, I really enjoy it. I think it's actually pretty good.
I didn't think the acting was bad at all, but
Can I lead us into characters?
yes, I would love that.
Okay. So we have the Leprechaun is played by Warwick Davis. Warwick Davis is in a ton of stuff. You may recognize him. He's actually in the movie Star Wars. He's in Harry Potter. He's in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and a whole bunch of other stuff. I think he did an awesome job playing the Leprechaun. Like, I can't ever imagine the Leprechaun being played by somebody else. He was so convincing and so terrifying to me personally.
Well, when did you first watch this?
I was a kid.
Like young?
I was young. I promise I will get into that later too. This movie terrified me when I was a child, and I had like recurring nightmares of the Leprechaun because there was really no way to kill the Leprechaun. So it scared the heck out of me.
We'll talk about that later. It's funny that you say that you first watched this when you were little. My husband was obsessed with this movie as a child. Like, went as a leprechaun for Halloween multiple times.
I love your husband so much.
I know. All right, next character.
We have Tori, played by Jennifer Aniston, and this is Jennifer Aniston's feature film debut.
Is it?
Yes, I looked it up.
Okay. That I think she's 24.
I didn't look up her age, but the first thing I thought was she looks young, but she still looks young now.
She looks the exact same, except like I feel like her features are more refined now. Like, she still looked childish in this movie as opposed to an adult. So yeah, but it's definitely cool to see her in an old horror movie.
Yes, it is. And then there's some other supporting characters. I don't know that I recognize them from anything else. You have Nathan, played by Ken Olant, Alex, played by Robert Gorman, and Mark Holton is playing Ozzy.
So those are basically our main characters, right?
Yes.
Who is your favorite character?
My favorite character is Warwick Davis, the Leprechaun. There's no debate. There's no second thought. Like I said earlier, so convincing, terrifying, and he's funny as hell.
I love Alex and Ozzy.
So
they melt my heart a little bit.
They do. I like their friendship.
They're brothers, right? All the three of them are brothers?
Yes. I was going to ask if you caught that. I didn't catch that until I read one of the summaries on IMDb.
Yeah. I don't have any least favorite characters for this movie. I liked everyone. You don't like Tori because she's pretentious.
No, I didn't say that.
Tori goes on. That's the look you're giving me.
No. I was trying to think if I disliked anybody. Tori goes on an interesting journey
of self-discovery.
Yes, she does. Very quickly. I don't think there's any characters that I hate in this movie.
There aren't for me.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, there's nobody that I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand them. But all right, hit me with some fun facts.
Okay, Morgan. The scene in the kitchen where he's digging through the cabinets and he finds the cereal and eats it. Okay. It's a funny scene, but did you know that originally they were able to use the trademark Lucky Charms? The box was Lucky Charms. They had permission from General Mills to use the name. Mm-hmm. But General Mills then saw the film and decided they didn't like it and revoked their right to use the name. So they had to refilm that entire scene. No, here's interesting, Morgan. At the end, the line that Alex was supposed to say was, "Your luck just ran out." Then they changed it after Lucky Charms revoked the rights to "Fuck you, Lucky Charms."
Yeah. Oh my God. That is awesome. Oh my gosh.
That is interesting. Or "Fuck you, Lucky Charm." Sorry, singular. Maybe it was Charms. I can't remember.
I think it's Charms. I wrote down "Fuck you, Lucky Charms" because it's one of my. Like I said before, this entire movie is so quotable. Like there are so many one-liners you can just run through. But yeah, that's one of my favorite lines. "Fuck you, Lucky Charms."
Okay, you ready for the next one?
Yes.
This is more interesting than anything else. In the cafe scene after they take JD, Tori's father, to the hospital, and they're in the cafe, right? You can actually see Warwick Davis without makeup on and his wife sitting there. I thought that was so...
That's
it's cute,
cool,
but it's funny.
Easter egg.
Yeah, it's like I actually had never noticed it until I read that and went back and watched it.
And watched it again. Okay.
Yep.
That is kind of fun.
Okay.
That's as I was watching this and they were in the cafe, actually, I was thinking, why is stale cafe coffee so good? And then I kind of went on a tangent about that I miss going to breakfast with my family at all the local diners and stuff. I wish I would have gone more. I wish I would have actually got my ass out of bed and went to family breakfast more, but I was lazy.
It'll be back soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
Sure. All right. More fun facts. That was depressing. More fun facts.
More fun facts. So I had to look this up because I in my research, I am most familiar with the original 6 movies. And then they made 2 more movies that don't have Warwick Davis in them. So this one movie spun out 7 additional movies. So a total of 8 movies that are in this series. So that made me think, Morgan, that's a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Who else is up in that ranks? And I have the answer.
I was thinking the Halloween Halloween saga.
That's in there, yep.
Scream.
That is actually not one of the top.
I think Scream is only up to 4 or 5 maybe. The Friday the 13th.
Yep.
There's quite a bit of them.
So let me give you the numbers. So Friday the 13th has 12.
Yeah.
Halloween with 11. Nightmare on Elm Street with 9. And the rest of these movies all have 8 in their series or in their universe.
Okay.
Alien, Saw, The Conjuring, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Child's Play, and Leprechaun.
That's Child's Play. I think I've only seen like the original and then like the recent remake with what's her face? Audrey Plaza in it.
They get kind of bad, but that's okay because you have to appreciate the whole thing.
The universe, yeah.
And my last fun fact, I did not know this until today. So up at the time that they were talking about, so they made movies like Freddy vs. Jason, right? Mm-hmm. So there was actually going to be a movie.
The Cross World?
Yes. There was actually going to be a movie called Candyman versus Leprechaun from the Candyman universe. Are you familiar with those series of films?
Yes, they're doing a remake now.
Yes, they are.
I haven't seen the original one.
I have not either, but apparently I don't know if it was the writer or the actor that was in Candyman said he wasn't going to do that because that wasn't the characters. So they killed it. Apparently they wrote a script. And that was it for my fun facts.
I can't believe there were so many made.
Yeah, this is a good movie.
And I wonder, like, besides horror movies, are there any other movies, like, besides, like your sagas, like Star Wars,
Marvel.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, like all those types of movies. Are there really any other? I mean, you don't really see that with any other type of movies besides horror movies, and then like if it's based off of a book series or something like that.
Yeah, I think the horror movies lets certain writers be like creative, so they can they have a framework that they can go on, and it's not strict. When you have a book, you kind of have to be a little bit strict. You have to stick to some things of the book. But when you're doing horror, you set like what the universe looks like, and then you can continuously just write stuff in to the universe. So I think that works out well for horror movies.
I will probably have to check out the rest of the Leprechaun stuff to just see where they go with it. Because there's like a Leprechaun in the Hood, isn't there?
Can I give you the list of all the films, Morgan?
Sure.
So you have Leprechaun. Then we have Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4 in space.
What?
Yes. That's my least favorite of the original series. Stop laughing. Leprechaun in the Hood. That's got Ice-T in it. And Leprechaun Back to the Hood. That's the sequel. And then the 2 remakes, Leprechaun Origins and Leprechaun Returns. I saw Leprechaun Origins and hated it. I've actually never seen Leprechaun Returns, but I will be watching it after reading some stuff about it today. Okay. I would like to do a PSA.
A PSA. Okay.
I want to do a PSA. As I shared, Morgan, this movie scared me as a child. So I decided to do research for all of you listeners out there on how you stop the leprechaun. So that way you can just listen to this part and you'll know exactly what to do. You ready, Morgan?
I am so ready. I feel like this is vital information I need to know.
Okay. So let me explain first what a leprechaun is.
Okay, and after this, I have also some Leprechaun lore that I'll go through if you haven't touched on it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're going to have some fun here. So this is from Unnatural World Fandom Wiki, so we know it's legit.
Avi.
And Leprechaun, you did. I'm keeping it. A leprechaun is a solitary dwarf male fairy wearing an emerald green frock coat and green tri-cornered hats, and bestowed with knowledge of the location of buried treasure, often in a crock of gold. Infamous hoarders, they loathe to spend a single penny, which probably explains their poor appearance in spite of their great wealth. So they have some powers, Morgan. You ready for the list of their powers?
Yeah.
Magic, reality warping, shape-shifting, regeneration, superhuman strength, superhuman speed, superhuman durability, teleportation, invisibility, telekinesis, soul reading, and immortality.
What? I didn't find any of this in my...
Listen, I checked it on Reddit. I double-checked it, as one does.
Okay. Yeah, as one does. And, I mean, obviously, everything on Reddit is real.
Correct. So, as I looked at this, and since they're a member of the fairy genus, I found what their weaknesses were. Mm-hmm. Grained substances. So if you pour something in front of them, they have to count them all, just like we saw with the gold.
I thought you meant like things made out of grain, and I'm like...
I don't know why it's worded that way, but
drink whiskey.
And this is a fairy thing, so we know that leprechauns are also susceptible. Iron is very harmful to fairies.
It is. Did you get that from Supernatural?
No, Reddit. Well, and this wiki. Cream. Apparently fairies hate cream. It intoxicates them.
Like creamer? Like half and half?
That's what it says. We'll find out when I meet a leprechaun.
Heavy whipping cream?
And silver apparently burns dark fairies. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. I was looking up how to kill a leprechaun. And when the FBI looks at my search history, they're going to think I'm nuts. So, apparently there's no way to fully kill a leprechaun, but there is some debate amongst scholars that perhaps by melting down or destroying the gold, that might also destroy the leprechaun.
That's so sad.
So, Morgan, what else you got for us?
Okay. Well, there are a couple things that you missed.
Uh-oh.
they are believed to be shoemakers for all the other fairies.
Of course.
Because the fairy genus, as you said, they dance all the time, so they wear out their shoes frequently. So that's believed to be why leprechauns are wealthy, is because they're constantly making money from making all these shoes, because they just wear other shoes constantly. Leprechauns are actually a protected species in Europe by the EU.
Get the fuck out of here.
No, according to ancientorigins.net, and I also read this some other place too, I can't remember which website, but apparently they are a protected species, and supposedly there are 236 living in a town called Carlingford, and the remains of a leprechaun were supposedly found in the late 80s, complete with a small skeleton, gold coins, tiny suit, and a patch of scorched earth.
What?
Yeah, dude, we're gonna have to go to Ireland and deep dive, go leprechaun hunting. Except, a lot of the lore goes back and forth about them being like evil versus like just mischievous type beings. So like, I think that the movie pretty accurately.
You saw
Spit
the
it out.
movie. I ain't fucking with the leprechaun's gold.
Well, I didn't say look for their gold. I just said look for them. I don't want their gold. They can keep their gold. But according to the movie, or according to the lore, the movie kept the description of leprechauns pretty accurately. Pre-1900s, the leprechauns were said to wear red, and then post-1900s came the green suit appearance. So in the movie, if you notice, he's wearing a green jacket and then red
pants.
breeches. So, breeches, because we're old-fashioned here.
We are.
So I liked how they kind of combined the two. I don't know if that was purposely done, but I appreciate how they did like the combined combo to
That is awesome.
attribute both of them. And also, leprechauns are described as kind of squash face, nasty looking, very unkempt. So I feel like they depicted him very well in the movie, and like kind of how as time goes by and he starts getting his magic back, if you notice, like he starts getting like green and moldy looking. I appreciated that. I feel like they kept it true to the lore.
Attention
I
to
thought that was
detail.
fun.
That makes the movie
Yes.
even better.
It does. But
Should we get into the
that's-
movie?
Yeah, that's all I had on my leprechaun lore, which I love learning about lore and stuff. It was fun for me to look into that.
That's because this movie is awesome.
You're convincing me slowly but surely.
I have that effect on people.
But it's not going to work with Hamilton. Let's continue with Leprechaun.
It will happen.
So, set the stage here for us, Tyler.
All right. Dan O'Grady comes home from Ireland in a limo and says he's got a pot of gold from a leprechaun and his wife thinks he's nuts. Which begged the question, Morgan, if your husband came home from a trip and said that you guys were rich, would you believe him?
Probably, yeah. I'd probably think that he thought that we were rich.
She goes back in the house and she hears talking from the suitcase that the leprechaun is in. Morgan, come on. Would you have opened that suitcase?
I quote said, I would be shitting myself if I heard a child singing a song in a suitcase. Like, I would literally just shit on the floor.
I wrote, I'd take that shit back out back and bury it 6 feet deep.
Like, I didn't, until you said something like, I had never heard that leprechauns can mimic, like, people's voices and stuff. Like, I just thought, like, what, banshees and other fairies could do that. So it was so creepy. Like, I don't know, anything with children being creepy is extra creepy sauce.
I was so scared the first time I saw the leprechaun. He was so terrifying.
He was with sharp little razor teeth. She lets the leprechaun out of the suitcase, and the leprechaun proceeds to kill her. And so Grady comes back and he's looking for his wife, and then he, like, the leprechaun does the leprechaun have a name besides Leprechaun? I don't think he does.
No, it's just a leprechaun. Because his name is, he says, well, you don't want to mess with Leprechaun's gold. Like I would say, you don't want to mess with Tyler's gold. So his name is Leprechaun.
Which also, another thing is it's believed that there aren't any female leprechauns. Another random fun fact. But I thought it was so fucked up when he was talking for O'Grady's wife. When he's talking for his wife and she's clearly dead and he's like moving her head back and forth. I thought that was so fucked up.
He is not a being to be trifled with.
No. And then I've got my first one-liner from that.
All right.
But I think you had something to say about him being captured.
I do. So they trap him by, I should say O'Grady traps him by putting him in a crate and putting a 4-leaf clover on top. Mm-hmm. Morgan, I have an embarrassing childhood story to admit. After I saw this movie, I went out and looked for 4-leaf clover in case the leprechaun ever tried to attack me. I never found any, which says a lot about my luck.
I remember looking for 4-leaf clovers when I was little, but it wasn't because I was like worried about a leprechaun getting me. My sister and I used to watch a movie called Behind the Waterfall. I want to see if I can find it again, but it kind of had a lot of Irish folktale and folklore and stuff in it. So I think that's why I was looking for 4-leaf clovers.
Not scared of the leprechaun though.
No, but the Behind the Waterfall actually scared me because there was like banshees and shit in it. But anyways, so after O'Grady captures him or whatever, he is going to attempt to burn the house down, apparently. I don't really know what he was going for here. But this comes my first one-liner that I will probably be randomly quoting in the most inappropriate circumstances. The burn in hell, you little green bastard. I'm just going to randomly quote that sometime. Okay, it cracked me up. Nathan is talking to Tori, right? Tori?
Yes.
About when she first comes out of the house and they have their first introduction of being together. He says, why are all girls afraid of old houses and like
spiders and all that?
Yeah, and all that. And she says, what is this, 1950? This is the 90s. Women are treated equal. And I'm like, good joke. The next scene that I have anything written down about is the scene between Alex and Ozzy, where he was like talking about him getting brain surgery so he'd be smart. And Ozzy's like, people make fun of me. And Alex is like, they don't make fun of you, only behind your back. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so sad.
I also wrote that down. And I wrote, where's it at?
It hurt my heart. You probably thought it was funny because you're a big meanie.
No, I didn't. What are you talking about?
I'm kidding.
I laughed and said, but that made me LOL and then made me really sad. Right after that, right? Or it might be before that. So Ozzy's telling everybody he saw the leprechaun because he broke out. And everyone's like, oh, Ozzy's just being Ozzy. But then they see a rainbow. And then they go find this thing of gold. So what part of that makes the leprechaun the most unbelievable part? If I found gold randomly just stashed at the end of a rainbow, I'd go get my cast iron skillet and go ready to do battle with somebody.
What do you have to talk about next?
I loved the vehicles that the leprechaun uses throughout this movie. He starts off with the tricycle, then he upgrades to the car, and then he upgrades the car to this freaking battle royale thing. It's so awesome.
It's hilarious. So he goes from the tricycle. Before he goes to the car, we have the death by
the best death
pogo
Oh,
stick.
Morgan. Oh no, you didn't say the same thing I did. Please tell me you didn't.
I did because I said which death is the best. And
I wrote death by pogo stick.
I said probably the pogo stick. How creative! Like how I feel like that's so original.
Which death is best? Because Morgan prepped me with questions. Death by pogo stick is the only correct answer.
I agree. But, like, is that in any other movie?
No, it's awesome.
The only thing I could think of, like, okay, when so I have obviously seen the Saw movies before I've seen this one. So when he's riding the tricycle, I obviously think of Billy riding the tricycle around in the Saw movies.
So they ripped it off of this movie because this movie came out way before.
Maybe. Okay, and speaking of death, we go back to the cafe scene. And what? I'm trying to tie shit in here.
I love when you say, and speaking of death.
I say it like it's such a common transition. So speaking of death, we go back to the cafe scene and Jennifer Aniston is talking about Nathan eating meat, and she says, "You know what that is? It's cow. Like, I don't kill living things." And then she like steps it up. We'll kill the leprechaun, no questions asked.
That's
like,
right.
I'ma do this. So I thought that was funny. The next quote that I have is, it's a conversation between Ozzy and Alex, because I love their conversations. I feel like a lot of their conversations make this movie. Ozzy asks Alex, "Do you think you could kill a leprechaun?" And Alex just like goes complete gangster and says, "Ozzy, you can kill anything. You just have to know how to do it. Now give me a 357 Magnum, press it to the little green critter's temple, and blam, brains, guts, oozing crud, dripping all down its head. The guy is gone with a capital dead." And I'm just like, what?
That's a normal thing for children now.
Right, right. And so this quote made me think of this. This is exactly why, if I ended up in the plot of a horror movie, I would much prefer it be a slasher movie than a paranormal, occult, supernatural type movie, because I know how to kill a human.
Yup.
The only things I know...
Wait a minute. Could you have phrased that better?
No. I'm keeping it.
Morgan, this is so much fun. Please continue.
We don't necessarily know how to like kill a demon, ghost, poltergeist, mythical creature. Like, the only things that we know are what's in the TV series Supernatural, and I've learned so much from that. And those are the only things we don't know specifically how to kill them. Like, you know how to kill a human. A human is killable. We don't know if these things are killable. They're already dead, some of them. And zombies. I mean, we know how to kill zombies.
Oh, it's easy
too.
to kill a zombie.
I wouldn't say easy. Easy's pushing it.
Oh, I don't know. I'm a decent shot. I said decent, not good.
But the head is a very small target compared to the torso and body. But anyways, okay.
So that led me into an interesting question, Morgan. If you could be any mythical or supernatural creature, what would it be?
He's stealing my questions here. I tried to set him up so he wouldn't have to think very hard.
I didn't think very hard. I knew what the answer was immediately.
You have a definite answer?
Oh, yes.
Okay, what's your answer?
Vampire. I basically already am one.
Like, are we talking...
We're talking like underworld vampires.
Okay, underworld, I was gonna say, like, are we talking Twilight shit? Are we talking Dracula, Salem's Lot type of thing, or underworld? Okay.
I think underworld is my favorite
type of
vampire movie, and that would be my favorite type of vampires.
That's a lot of leather.
Celine. Oh, man.
Meow. Oh, so I couldn't narrow it down. I said I would probably either be a shapeshifter, elf, mermaid, or fairy.
No, I need you to pick. You already are a fairy, so you have to cut that one off the list.
Okay.
So you have to pick one of those other ones.
Probably a shapeshifter, because then I could just become anything that I wanted.
I thought you were going to say mermaid for sure.
Well, but then
so that way you could live out your aerial fantasy.
I know, but then I couldn't like come on land and stuff, and that would be sad.
I mean, why do we need to be on land? You seen the ocean?
I like the ocean, but I don't know. I like forests too.
I don't like the water. So
the most random tangent. But honestly, that's one of my favorite questions to ask people, because people just look at you like, the fuck did you just ask me?
Morgan, that literally took me 3 seconds to answer.
Listeners, if you have a favorite supernatural being or mythical creature, please share it with me, because I want to know.
And why would be great too.
Yes, why would be excellent.
All right, Morgan, my favorite scene. What is your favorite scene?
I'm not 100% sure, but on this rewatch, when they're looking through the cupboards to find him, and he comes out the drawer and grabs his dick.
And the man check?
Yeah. I did not catch that the first time I watched it. He like just grabbed.
I had never caught that before. I put that down in my notes.
He totally just grabs all the goods there. And on the first watch, I totally missed that.
So my favorite scene is also with the cupboards, but it's before that. It's when the leprechaun's in the house by himself, and he's digging through all of the cabinets, and he finds the mirror, and he catches that glimpse of himself and goes, ah! And it scares him.
And then he
And
starts,
then he kind of starts checking himself out.
grooming himself.
I do that all the time. Like I see myself in the morning, I'm like, oh my goodness, like I need to do my hair. And then kind of that's my favorite scene.
As we both always look into the camera and mess
Play
with
with
our
our
hair. This is why we can't do actual video pods yet, because we're both more focused on grooming ourselves.
Correct.
On the camera.
So they spend all this time trying to kill the leprechaun, right? And they try a couple different ways. I think the first way is the shotgun, right?
They shoot him like a million times, and it obviously just stuns him. And
But they shoot him, and he doesn't even, he goes to the bushes and starts shooting, but he's just shooting at nothing. He doesn't even make sure the leprechaun's there.
well, and at one point, like, he shoots him, lays him out, and then they're like, is he dead? And he's like, yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, it's in the
And then
house.
the leprechaun just like pops back up. I'm like, you always double tap.
So after they give up on trying to kill him, they finally are like, let's just give this guy the gold, right? Doesn't that make sense?
It does. You don't even know if this is the type, like if it's actual real gold, or if you don't know if it's worth anything. I know they take it to the pawn shop guy or antique guy, but
Yeah.
at this point, like, this motherfucker's trying to kill you, just give him the gold.
That's right. So after Jennifer Aniston's character Tori gives him the gold, he kisses her, and I did not remember that. And I was thinking, ugh. So first of all, he just broke out of this crate after 10 years. He's got some hella morning breath. And I mean, look at him. Look at him.
When he did that, I cringed a little. I'm like, oh my god, I probably would have turned him vomit on him.
Okay. So after they find out that they're missing one piece of gold, Ozzy had accidentally swallowed it. So now they have to kill him. And they go find out from Mr. O'Grady that, okay, you need the 4-leaf clover.
So, okay, if O'Grady knew how to kill him,
Why didn't he go back?
right, like, why didn't he just take care of it?
I think they wouldn't let him out because he kept saying they wouldn't believe me. I think they wouldn't let him out of the institution he was in.
So did he not figure it out until after the fact,
I think he was hoping by putting the 4-leaf clover on top and burning the house down that would be enough to kill the leprechaun. Because the leprechaun doesn't have any power if he's separated from his gold. So there is some, I guess, logic to that. How did they actually kill this guy again?
All right, so they finally find this 4-leaf clover, and basically the only way they find it is because of Ozzy's childlike sense of belief. And he tells Tori that you have to believe, and she says, I believe, and magically this 4-leaf clover appears in her hand, and Alex takes it, and he takes out his wad of gum, and he smushes it onto the gum and does he throw it, or does he have a slingshot? I can't remember.
I thought he has a slingshot because I thought he was doing his best Beverly Marsh impression.
Nice. I see what you did there. And shoots it at the leprechaun, sticks to the leprechaun staggers back, and as he's shooting the leprechaun, he says, fuck you, Lucky Charms, which now we know has a double meaning, and he falls dramatically into the well. Does that basically wrap it up?
That wraps it up, and then they dump the gas in and then burn the leprechaun. And I thought to myself, was there any chance this leprechaun wasn't coming right back?
Well, at the very end, you hear him cursing the well. So
Right.
They definitely left it open for a sequel, but yeah,
I mean, you as a person, let's say you just killed in quotes, this leprechaun with a 4-leaf clover and some gasoline. After everything you've seen this thing go through, would you think this thing was really going to die?
No, I already said double tap. Like, I would be doing immense research on leprechaun lore to see how in the hell you for sure kill them. I would not take this O'Grady guy's word for gold. Like, I'd be researching the fuck out of it. I would be finding my own way to kill this leprechaun.
You'd put that
and make
4-leaf
sure
clover patch over top of the well.
It would
so
be
he can't
going
get out.
down his throat into his esophagus, like with leaves or something stuffed in to make sure he couldn't spit it up. Okay, that just got real dark real fast. I'm not a serial killer, I swear. I would make sure that he was gonna stay dead if he had tormented me like that.
And that's Leprechaun.
And that's Leprechaun.
This movie is so good.
It was a good time. I did want to pull up our rating scale here. I gotta get
All right, I'm ready.
As always, until we get more accustomed to this, I'm gonna just run through real quick all of our points that we have here. So we have the point of the plot, the attraction, the theme, acting, dialogue, and kind of subcategories within those main categories. All right, so plot, the story arc from 1 to 5. Does it work or doesn't work?
Heck yeah, it works. That's a 5.
All right, I agree. It works. It's funny. Is it plausible?
Of course it is. That's a 5.
Okay.
We don't know.
We don't know. Leprechauns could exist.
And maybe no one's ever lived to tell the tale.
Wait a second. Didn't you say... We were talking about Bigfoot the other day, and you said that if there was a Bigfoot, it would have been found by now. But so you're saying that Bigfoot couldn't exist, but leprechauns could?
Leprechauns are much smaller.
Okay, that's a fair point. I can accept that. All right, so next up we have premise. We already kind of said this. It's a pretty unique.
I would give this a 5 on the unique scale. No other movie ever before it that I'm aware of, or anything ever since that's not part of this movie series, has ever been popular.
Yeah, has covered the leprechaun type lore, that type of stuff in a horror way.
Yeah, I would give this a 5.
Entertainment value, extremely entertaining, not entertaining at all. I wonder
10.
what.
10. So entertaining.
Identity, was it? Oh, okay, that kind of answers this next one.
Yep.
Extremely entertaining. Intrigue, does it teach us and make us think, or do we form an emotional connection with the characters?
I was more attached to that pot of gold.
Oh, you and your greed. I liked the characters. Like we stated before, there wasn't really a character that I didn't like.
No, but there's also, if any of them had died, would you have cared?
I would have been sad if Ozzy died just because he was so sweet and innocent.
Okay, so you have an attachment to that character.
But that's only one.
So you have to rate it in the middle.
Yeah, I would say 3 or 4. Probably 4.
I'd give it a 3.
Okay. Acting, was it bland or multi-dimensional?
Multi-dimensional 5.
See, I would give this like a 3 probably.
Did you see Warwick Davis's amazing acting?
Okay.
Give me a 4. Give me a 4.
All right, a 4. Okay. Well, okay. That comes to our next point is performance.
4.
Oscar worthy or me, Morgan, could do better.
All right, let's give it a 3.
You think I could do a better Leprechaun impression than
I don't
Warwick
think you
Davis?
could beat Warwick Davis, but I think you could beat Nathan and
Tori.
Alex and some.
You think I could be Tori?
I don't know. Jennifer Aniston's acting in this is not great,
But it's not bad. Like, I feel like it's typical 90s type movie. At one
3.
point I think she says, "We're like really scared." Relatable. The storytelling. Does the dialogue flow well, or does it kind of take away from the ultimate line,
I think it flows pretty darn good, especially when Leprechaun talks.
Well, and there are so many one-liners throughout this entire thing.
Like when he gets his hand stuck on the hot stove and he takes the spatula and takes it off and says, "We're cooking now, kids."
Yeah. I like it. And then the context that, again, kind of goes along with that is it goes with the times, the storyline, everything. I think it was very fluid.
Yeah.
But 47 out of 50.
A 47, everybody. This has been the top-rated Distractaholics movie that we have watched so far.
Since we started using this review system, at least. So, yeah, Leprechaun's the one to beat.
Leprechaun. Just keep that in mind, everybody. Leprechaun. Go out, watch it.
Yes, if you haven't watched it and you want something funny to watch it. It's lots of good laughs, funny one-liners. It's a good time. Like I said, would I rewatch it again? Maybe like once a year type thing to get me in the mood for St. Patrick's Day. I don't know. While I'm drinking some Jameson or green beer. Maybe. You too, right?
I'll probably watch it again later.
Or at least move on to the sequel, right? Well, you have that other one to watch.
Yeah, I have to watch the Origins, the one in 2018. Or not Origin, Returns.
2018?
So,
like,
2018.
that's as recent as they've been made?
Yes, so we went from
Wow.
93, 94, 95, 97, 2000, 2003, and then Warwick Davis said no more because his kids were born. And then 2014 and 2018.
Wow. I didn't
And
realize
in 2018, in Returns, they go back to the farm, and Ozzy is in it.
Oh,
the
that's
same guy.
fun. That's fun. Yeah, so we know that Leprechaun is going to continue to distract you. What else has been distracting you this week?
Morgan, I was totally unprepared for this question, even though you ask it every week.
How are you? Okay, so I'll give you time to think, and I'll tell you what has been distracting me this week. So we did a murder mystery type game thing the other night. Tyler and I, your Distractaholics, along with my husband and then a couple of friends that live in Alabama. We did a video chat, and that was fun. What else did I do this week? I started reading The Magicians, as I've been
Begged.
coerced into doing so. I had a really good porch sitting date with one of my oldest friends, and it was very nice and much needed therapy time. What else did I do?
You had a really good run.
I did. I ran the furthest that I've ever ran in my life this week, and
Zombies were chasing her.
they were not. But yeah, this next week I have an even longer run, so.
What are we going up to this week?
Actually, I think the day that we go get shoes, I think it's a 9.5.
9.5, okay.
Yeah, so.
I can do that.
Yeah, you're going to be done at least, almost 45 minutes before me.
That's okay. It means I can go back and do another 4.
Ew. I'll get there eventually, slowly but surely. I've continued doing yoga. We've been writing our story. This will obviously be uploaded later on, but we completed our first story for our April challenge this week. By the time this gets released, we're probably going to be done with all of our stories, won't we?
Yeah, I think so.
So if you haven't checked those out, make sure you go to our website, Distractaholics.com, and give those a read.
Absolutely.
So, Tyler, you're not getting out of it. What's distracting
Dang
you?
it, I was hoping you forgot. Let's see. Worked a lot, went on some runs. That's about it.
All right.
Watched some Magicians. Started writing Magicians fan fiction.
I've been obsessing over Discovery Plus now, thanks, and watching a lot of...
It's really good, isn't it?
I've been watching The Abandoned Places, and that's really cool. It gives a lot of history and stuff, and I think that's a lot of fun, so...
Of all the streaming services I've ever tried, I think it's had the most content that was immediately, applicable to me.
As soon as I logged in, I went through and started adding shit to my list, which I don't usually do. So I've done that in Disney just so I can get to certain things quickly. But yeah, I immediately started going through different categories. I want to watch this, and adding it completely to my list. So yeah, I'm liking it so far. Yeah, what you should be doing to distract yourself, listeners, this week is listen to our podcast.
Of course.
Check us out on Instagram, Twitter. We're at Distractaholics on both of those. Give us a follow. Comment on my posts. I'm trying really hard, people. Check out the website, like I said, distractaholics.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us some comments. Those comments are open now. I would love to hear your feedback. You can always shoot us an email. What's our email, Tyler?
Distractaholics@gmail.com.
Anything. If you just want to say hey, that's fine. I would love to hear from you.
Morgan.
Yes.
What are we doing next week?
Next week. Okay. So...
Oh, boy.
I have a treat for you next week.
Oh.
We are going to be watching the movie Mamma Mia.
I was told that I could never pick a musical because musicals were dumb.
I did not not say. You are twisting my words around. I never said that.
Silence is golden, Morgan.
You're a liar.
It's what you didn't say that allowed me to.
I will not stand for this. If you want me to change it, I will, because I have a backup.
No, I'm good with Mamma Mia.
You've never seen it, right?
I have never seen it.
I have seen it multiple times. Multiple times.
All right.
But I think that's all we got on Leprechaun. It's been a fun episode. At least we've had fun. I don't know if you guys have had fun. We hope you had fun.
I think this just goes to show that I like fantasy stuff. Leprechauns are fantasy.
Yeah. But it's classified as comedy horror, though.
The movie is. The Leprechaun is not.
Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day and listening to us. We hope you continue on this journey with us and becoming Distractaholics. See you guys later.
And remember, don't mess with Leprechaun's gold.
Love you. Bye.